Hi, I'm Steve Miller and welcome to this latest video where I show how I use DxO Photolab 8 to edit my images. This one's another wildlife image. I do mainly wildlife and sports photography, but I will do some more landscape edits, but this time it's going to be this image of a Roebuck that I got recently. I'd spotted these deer in the field of barley and thought it'd be nice to try and get them in the late evening sun. It didn't work out that way. 10 minutes before this image I had nice evening light coming in from the left hand side here where the sun was setting, and this was all golden. This barley was lit up all golden, but sadly the road here wasn't there then. This is just a grab shot that I got on the way back to the car. Hopefully if you can see, I've made the pointer a bit bigger, my cursor, so it might help. I noticed when I was watching back my old videos that it was hard to see what I was doing sometimes, so I have actually made the cursor a little bit bigger, so hopefully that'll help. Yeah, so let's get started on this image. As I said, it's a quick grab shot really on the way back to the car. It was taken at 500mm, which I'm on a Micro Four Thirds camera, so it's like 1000mm taken at 160th of a second, so it wasn't ideal light, but as you can see, it's sharp enough this image. You know, for a 1000mm, 160th of a second, this shape reduction on the camera did, and the lens did quite well. ISO 1600, so that's not too bad. That's it's quite a usable ISO on my camera. Right, so let's get into it. This is the image when I first open it in DxO. It has got a couple of things that automatically get put on the images as I bring them in. I'll just show where it is straight from camera. It was like that, but just with a few things that I've automatically got set, smart lighting being one of them. It just helps the image right from the get-go. So right, the first thing I'd do with this image, I'd just I'd crop in a little bit, and I don't like it too central, the deer, so I would just go in and crop the image slightly. I mean, I don't want to go too mad. Maybe something like that. Yeah, that looks okay. I'd just look, I'd say that I had a little bit 20 on the smart lighting on. I'd just go and see what a bit more smart lighting would do to this image. No, I think it was about right where it was, around about 20. That looks quite nice. What I do notice straight away about this image is it was late evening, so it was a lot warmer, the light than this. So I'm going to just skip onto the colour, and I'm just going to warm this image up just so it does look like what I was seeing. So the barley, I mean, it was looking more like, to my eye, that looks far better. Right, I'll just go back up and see. I mean, this I don't want it. It's not. I don't imagine this ending up a contrasty image, so I wouldn't use any Clearview Plus on this image. I think it just add contrast, which in the grasses I just don't want that. I want it softer if anything, so I wouldn't use any Clearview Plus. Right, I just look at maybe lifting the shadows a little bit. Not too much, because it is just making that deer, taking a bit of contrast out of the deer, so just a little bit mid-tone slightly. It might just lift the grasses a bit. I'm going to do a lot of this individually. I'll work on the background and the deer separately, so I won't do too much on this. In fact, I don't think I'd do any contrast or anything on this. I might just set the white points and the black points. I noticed someone had said put on one of the comments why I don't use these highlight and shadow warnings, which you can do when using the tone curve. It's quite a good idea to do that. I don't always do it. Sometimes I just do it by eye, but if you see that, you can just see that coming in, that showing me that that's burnt out. So you can just back it off. I'm usually quite good just doing this for eye. That's why I don't use it, but I think it probably is a good idea. You can show that same again there with the shadows. When I bring the black point up, you can just see we're losing detail in the shadows if I go too far. So I just leave that something like that. Right. One thing I just thought I'd mention, vignetting. I quite often put a vignette on the images at the end, and people are probably thinking, why do I have the in-camera vignetting turned on? Because you automatically get a vignette a lot of the time. If you see that just darkening a bit, but that'll be for the whole image, so the vignette won't be equal. So that's why I add it later on. So I think that's about as much as I do on that. Now we get to the local adjustments. As I always say, this is where the magic happens really. On this image, I definitely, just by experience, the auto mask's going to be a big help here for picking that deer out. So what I'd do, I'd zoom in quite close and use the auto mask, just get the settings how I want them. I'd use quite a big brush at first. I know this is where a lot of people could be saying, this is where a lot of the other, like Lightroom, they have the auto mask feature now, which would help. I don't know what's happening here. Is that something to do with the cursor? See how my brush is disappearing there? I'll just make that smaller and zoom in and just try and do the antlers on this deer. Something like that. And the little workaround that I use is just to see if I've done a good job or not. I'll just turn that off. That's just a bit annoying. That doesn't look it's done too bad a job, considering I can't see. I don't know why that's doing that with the brush, but I haven't done too bad a job there. So that's my deer mask. So I would just call that deer, and then I'd duplicate that and I'd invert it. Should have reset that first. And that will be background, which I just say, I know that's background. There's a deer mask, and I'll reset that. Right, for the deer, let's see if we can make that look better. So let's see if we just give it a bit, just lift the shadows a little bit. I think the mid-tones, and I think with this, we're going to go with some micro contrast. Maybe even just the highlights a little bit, just to, yeah, that's looking nice. Now, quite often I'll try and warm, especially with deer, because of the colour of them. I'll try and warm them up a bit. Now, if you look, because the image was already set on the colour at 6,000, temperature 6,000. For the whole image, because I've done that deer filtered the local adjustments on the deer, and then I've gone on to the white balance. It's knocked it back to what it was originally. So I know that the background just over 6,000, but I'm going to take the temperature of the deer even higher than that, not too much. I don't want it to look too false, so maybe something like that. And now for the background, the background mask, and I'm looking and thinking that I need to lift the shadows and the mid-tones slightly. I'm trying to even this out. I don't want too much contrast on the background. Maybe you just take the exposure down slightly. now I'm looking, and I don't really like the greens in the background in the barley, so I'd look at maybe picking the greens. Let's see if you hold. Just see what we're. Picking that right out, and I'm just gonna take the greens towards yellow. You just see what it's doing. These, if you just watch these green areas, if you can just, I'm just trying to even it out just to make it more the same as the rest of the barley. I mean, it's all in your mind's eye. It's, you know, you can do these things differently. It's just how I see, how I want this image to look. So, you know, people could do it different. Looking at that now, I think I need to put quite a bit of saturation in the all of the background as well. I'm going to work on these areas. They're just a little bit too dark. I'll work on them separate again as well. I'll just look in there, that green, I think it just needs to take that colour around a bit more. I'm just looking at this area here. Yeah, that's looking quite nice now. Now I want to do something about this area here. I just don't like them dark bits around there, so I'll just do that using a control point. So I'll just put some quite big control points in these areas. And I'm going to lift. I'll just try lifting the shadows on there and maybe the mid-tones. Just on them areas. Yep, it's looking better. I'll go back to the background, and now I think I can even knock the background down slightly even more now that I've done that. It's just little tweaks. I don't want the deer to look too false. So if I take the background down too much, it will look false. Well, that's looking quite nice. Now, I quite often try and find a natural sort of leading line. I think I could accentuate this. There's a leading line there, and I'm looking at maybe I could use a big brush with a soft floor, and I could just brush in a little bit of a leading line, almost like an S curve that landscape photographers use in the grass, as if the light has just kissed that. I mean, let's have a look if I just turn that off. Very subtle, but it's there. Just a slight leading line. Now I think I'd go back onto my light adjustments, and now I've done that, I think I can afford to drop all of the exposure down slightly. Not too much. Something like that. On these control points, that was the dark grass, so I will remember what that is in the past, and I'll put light lead. I just haven't done that on that. I just need to done that wrong. I did that was a brush. Dark grass control point, and just add that bit there which I hadn't picked out. And again I'm going to just knock saturation of the green down and just take it towards yellow. And I might even take the whole saturation of that down. We're getting somewhere close now. Like I say, I quite often do this. I think this would probably help with this image as well. I'm just going to put a small vignette, or a slight vignette should I say. Very rare I go more than -5, -6 when I'm doing a vignette. Something, I don't know why, this area here of grass that keeps catching my eye, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'll just do a quick heel brush over that. Oh, that's not bad. Right, let's sit back and see how that looks. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So, like I always say, I'd come back, I'd leave it for a bit, then come back to it. But what we've gone is from that dark, it was a quick grab shot really. This is what I was imagining getting if the deer had come out at the right time. Was hoping to get something like this, but we've gone from that, which is a dark shot, bit underexposed. I probably should have put the exposure up a bit because the grass is quite light. But let's say it was a grab shot, so I didn't have a chance to do that. So gone from that to that. I'd say same again. I would maybe leave that for a couple of days, and then I come back and you always sort of, or I do, I always sort of see things a bit different when I've left it for a while. I might think, oh no, I've gone over the top, with something, or maybe it's the white balance might not be quite right. So that's why I always leave it for a while. But yeah, so we've gone from that to that. I'll just check the detail. Deep prime, it'll be okay at that ISO. Yeah, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. Right, so that's another one of my edits, and I use. I mean, it just shows that it's not just a raw converter DxO Photolab. You can use it quite artistically. Same as any other, Lightroom and the other software. You can do the same sort of similar things in Photolab 8. So don't think it's just a raw converter. It is quite a capable piece of software. Right. Thanks for watching.